This is the infamous lock you out of the camper aliner door catch, which I just removed from ours to have a look at this issue, as we almost locked ourselves out whilst using it recently. So there's actually, when you pull it apart, there's actually a rivet in there, another one in there. So I've already drilled those out to show the inside of the lock. So here we go. It's quite simple actually. So there's the lever, as you can see it operates the lock. I'll use the screwdriver and pretend that's the outside lock, because this is the side that would be on the inside of the door. So we stick that in there, and as you can see, we're turning the knob on the outside and the lock opens and shuts. Now the problem is we know there's a little lever. So you click that over to lock it from the inside and make yourself nice and secure at night, which is a great idea. And you can no longer undo the lock from the outside. But if you don't unlock it or pull the lever all the way, you can see the little lever, little pin there just moved. I'll just show you that again. So we're now locked in, and when you pull the lever from the inside, what I've discovered with this particular lock is you can pull the lever enough to actually undo the door, open the door, but this pin here doesn't go back far enough. So you've got out in the middle of the night to go to the toilet, you didn't, half asleep, didn't pull the lock all the way, shut the door behind you, you come back and voila, you can't get in. So you've got to remember to pull this little handle all the way. You can see that little pin move. Now, to my way of thinking, and while I'm at it, you might notice on this particular lock, I've just spotted there's a spring missing down in there. Not missing, but broken, sorry. So I'm going to have to try and replace that. There's the only way that I can see to get around this problem, but then you wouldn't be able to lock the door from the inside. You would have to have a separate pad bolt or something. Is this section here, which comes out quite easily. If you were to, I don't know if you can see the pencil marks I'll put on there. I'll stick this under it to raise it up a bit. Oops, sorry about that. Still can't see the pencil marks. But on there, you can see a little pencil mark. I reckon if we filed that little corner off either side, that would defeat the purpose of the bit where it locks in. I'll just stick this back in again. As you can see, it comes out really easy. It's a very simple lock, and I'm not a locksmith by any means. So if you were to file that little bit off, I'll just relock it again, you can see how if that little bit was off, it would no longer hold the catch. I'll just do another take on that. As you can see, if you were to file that little bit off, you'd be able to turn the knob from the outside, and it wouldn't matter if it was locked or not. But the problem is the lever would be over, but the lock's not locked. The other way you could do it is actually drill this rivet out from the other side. You would achieve the same thing. You would have it would now be a door catch. I think you can still lock it from the outside with the key, because that works in the actual knob part of it. But as far as internally goes, you would no longer be able to lock it. So you would have to put a bolt on the inside. Well, that's a cheap way of doing it, I think. I mean, here in Australia, one of those twin key deadbolt locks is about $120 Australian. So, you know, I'm sort of reluctant to have to go and buy one, and then you've got to fit it as well. But what I'm going to have to do with this one is actually this pin that runs through here. I might use a pencil, I might be able to see a bit better. This pin that runs through here, it's another big long rivet. It's got a head on one side. Take it out the flash to show you. There we go. So it's got a head on one side there, and on the other side it's just pinned over. So if I drill that out, I'll be able to drive that rivet out of there to get the spring off. I do have another spring. It's a little bit longer than the original, but I think it'll work if I can get it on there. And what I'll have to do to replace the rivet is I've just rummaged through my odds and sods screw box, and I found it's a 5mm screw. I'll be able to put that in there, hopefully. See what happens. I still might be up buying a lock tomorrow. Alright, so that's just to show people just how simple these things are, you know, and that would be one way to achieve not locking yourself out. So yeah, so I'll probably end up filing those little corners off on this one, because we had a near miss while we were away on holidays. Yeah, so I'm going to file those off, and then I'll just put a padlock or something, not a padlock, sorry, a pad bolt inside. Probably try and get one of those little funny D ones that they have on the top half of the door. Okay, I've had this apart, And I've filed one side of it so far. I've only done one side, so I can reassemble it and show how it works. I actually had to take a bit more than I originally thought I would out, so there's actually a slight arc in there now. But it's in the lock is in the lock position. I'll just grab my trusty screwdriver. And as you can see, we're now going to turn the lock from the outside, and it unlocks. So the screwdriver slipped in. I'll show you that again. Right, so we're locked in. Now we're going to turn the knob from the outside, and as you can see, bang, we're back into the camper. Here we go. Right, so as you can see, I've only done one side, so it's still locked that way, but it works that way. So now I'm going to, I'm going to pull that apart again, and I'm going to file the other side. And then we'll never be able to lock ourselves in the camper again. So I filed the other half out, and yeah, so it's in the lock position now. Now I'm going to turn the knob, and as you can see, it's unlocked. Just reset the lock again, do the other way. So we can no longer lock ourselves out of the camper. I should have said out before I actually said in, but I meant out. But now I've got to put a pad bolt or something inside. And we're also going to pull this one apart and try and replace that busted spring, but you know, I might even video that. So here we have the lock again. As you can see down in there, I drilled the rivet out, put the new replacement spring, which is slightly larger than the old one, and then I used a long 5mm screw, and I've used a nylock nut on that side of it. I actually had to run the 5mm drill through there. It was probably an imperial size, just under 5mm. But yeah, so now you know, you can actually feel the difference now that I've got two springs in there. So I've still got to rivet the plate back on, but in reality that plate is only there to stop dirt and stuff getting into the lock, you know. So I'm going to go and put it back together now, and I'll try and find some nice little rivets to rivet the plate back on. So I finally found a use for some little tiny brass rivets that I've had in the cupboard for 40 odd years. I actually countersunk the back of the plate, just stuck the rivet through and peened them over on the outside. You could just as easily use a small pop rivet, aluminium pop rivet, take the steel nail out of it, cut the rivet to the right length and pop it through and just peen it over with a hammer. You might have to drill a slight little counter bore into the woodwork of the door just for the peened over rivet to fit into when you refit it, but that's, you know, I mean, if you're prepared to take on having to play with one of these things, you'll have the skills to finish it off or riveting it one way or the other. Okay, hope this helps somebody.